Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm your host, Andrew Zarian. Of course, I'm joined by the one, the only, John Bubb, as I am each and every week. How you doing, John?
Hello.
Still growing the beard, huh?
Yeah, you know what? I think it kind of looks good, right?
It's going to get to that
don't
point. I think right now it's fine. I'm just a little concerned because it will hit that point where you start looking a little homeless. And, we just got to figure out when that point's going to be. At what point are you going to start, people are going to start giving you their change while you're walking down the street?
I wasn't thinking about doing much longer, so.
Oh, you're going to get rid of all of it or just trim it?
Well, I'm not going to get rid of all of it. It's going to be trimmed.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. Super trendy John, that's what I call you.
Unless you want me to look homeless, maybe I'll make some more money. I'll probably be rich. Make $400 a day panhandling on the street corner of Detroit.
It is the holiday season, so people are a little generous. So if you're going to do it at any other time, anytime, this would be it. Talk about the holiday season. Black Friday came and went. Cyber Monday came and went. Did you buy anything?
No, I don't think I did. No. I mean, I bought something. I bought a beard trimmer, but that was it. It wasn't a Black Friday thing.
I did no shopping on Black Friday. I ended up on Monday. There was a tremendous deal on a Fire TV, an Amazon Fire TV.
Yeah, I sent you that deal.
You sent it to me. It was like 60-something bucks.
$69. It was 30% off, which is
phenomenal.
Because normally the Fire TV is a $99 set-top box,
which is still not expensive. I mean, it's still an affordable device. But I ordered it and I hooked it up on Wednesday. I didn't really get a chance to play around with it. I ended up spending a lot of time with it yesterday, and
really?
It is. I'll tell you something. It is fast. It is really.
It's got a quad-core CPU in it.
It has a quad-core. This thing is really fast.
RAM.
Apple TV is just really slow at this point. It blows Apple TV away. It's faster than the Roku 3. Much faster.
Really?
Yeah. The UI, just navigating through the UI. You know what it is? I'm trying to come up with a good analogy on what it's like. Like you've used a Roku 2, right? Or the Roku 3?
Roku 3.
Okay. So when you're like scrolling, it doesn't feel like a computer is scrolling or like a tablet is scrolling. It's a little
there's still
clunky.
a bit of a lag.
It virtually no lag.
Hmm.
I mean, it is super fast. The apps, there's a lot of apps, a lot of apps. A lot of them are just garbage.
Yeah, well, it is a first generation product, so I think, honestly, they've done a fairly decent job with the apps so far on the Fire TV for it being out for as short as it has been.
Yeah, my only concern was, I use Netflix, obviously. Netflix is really good. The UI is much better than Apple TV because you know what Apple TV does, right? It's like their own UI. They can't customize an app. Yeah. Everything has to look the same. So
the Roku is kind of the same way as well.
Roku's kind of the same way as well. Yeah, but Netflix kind of has, I guess Netflix and some of like the bigger brands could do a little bit more. On the Amazon experience for Netflix, tremendous. Hulu's great. I have obviously the Amazon Prime stuff is on there. Everything runs fine. Everything's 1080p. I was just really annoyed because the WWE Network looked like crap. And
it looked like crap.
It looked awful. Just the quality was bad. And then I started thinking, I'm like, you know what they're probably doing? They're probably just porting over the Amazon Store application. So just
So it's probably not even grabbing the correct HD feed for a device.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good. As I said that, literally like 2 hours later, there was an update. And I did the update, and everything is perfect. You could even like skip ahead. It tells you like the matches and the time frame for the matches. It's really detailed. I am really impressed with it. Really, really impressed with it. I'm hoping that they further develop this device and they continue updating it, because there are little things that they have to do. But, I mean, in the long run, this is probably, in my opinion, probably the best set-top box you could buy right now.
Really? Even better than the Roku 3?
The Roku 3 is fine. The Roku UI feels a little dated at this point.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
And I'm comparing, everything. I'm comparing performance. I'm comparing the UI.
Because I was also doing the research yesterday in terms of the Fire TV Stick, and Roku Stick. And just honestly, I'm looking at videos of the Amazon Fire TV interface, and it looks so much cleaner than the Roku does.
Oh, much cleaner. Now, the other thing, I want to get my hands on the Nexus, the player.
Yeah.
Because the only reason why I really like Google TV is because you weren't eating up an HDMI source when you hooked it up. Mm-hmm. It was piggybacking off your cable. You had the pass-through. So it was great because you were saving on an HDMI and it was all incorporated. But now, since Google's not doing that with their next set-top box, there's really no point for me if I'm happy with one. The other problem that I see is, like, Showtime is on there. HBO Go is not. CBS is on there. Fox is not. And ABC is not. As far as I could see, I couldn't see an ABC app. So it's still limited, obviously.
Yeah, when you're comparing it to the applications on Roku, yeah.
Well, Roku and even Apple TV, because Apple TV has ABC.
Both Roku and Apple TV have been out for several years, so there's been plenty of time for people to create applications for those platforms, whereas Fire TV has barely been out for even a year.
So you want to know how sick I am at this point, and I think a lot of the viewers could kind of connect with this. I'm looking at ways to root this thing already. I'm like, well, it's Android, right? So I could technically, somebody has to have made their own app. Somebody has to have modified the UI, because it's Android. That's all it is. I'm trying to find ROMs for it and ways to unlock it. And I'm like, what am I doing? What's going on here? And apparently there was a firmware update that prevents you from rooting it now. So as I said that, I just saw the story. But John, are you looking, because you were looking for a device also, and we had this discussion today.
Yeah, I'm very much one of those people that wants anything I want, TV or video, either on my computer or on the TV, on any device that I want.
So what are you looking for? Because you messaged me, you're like, can I have your Chromecast? I'm like, you know what? Absolutely, but I'm not going to give you mine because that's going to cost me the shipping. I'll just order you one on Amazon. It comes out a couple bucks more, but it's less of a hassle. So I ordered you one, and you're like, oh, crap, did you order me one? I go, yeah. He goes, can you cancel it? I'm like, yeah, I'll cancel. What do you want? But now you're like sitting in limbo because you don't know exactly which one to get, and I totally understand it, and I think a lot of our viewers have that issue, the same exact issue you're having.
Yeah, I mean, I know when I was doing my research yesterday, there's just a lot of people that are trying to compare between the Apple TV, the Roku streaming stick, the Roku 3, the Amazon Fire TV, the TV stick, and the Chromecast. And there's all different levels there of what kind of service do you want from your device. Do you want every single application out there? Well, then you're looking at either Apple TV or the Roku 3. If you don't care what platform there is and you're just looking for the cheapest option, that's Chromecast. It's the cheapest option, but you're still relying on a computer.
Yeah.
So there's just all different levels of set-top boxes and platforms out there that you really have to decide what works best in your case. Initially, I was thinking, Chromecast would work fine. I have the Plex app on my phone, and I can use that to Chromecast stuff to my TV. But if I'm really going to think about this, is that really what I want?
They're all missing something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, all of them, they're all just missing one thing.
Yeah,
and
at
I
this
don't
point,
understand
Apple TV
why.
is outdated. And Fire TV Stick, this is something that I'm looking at now. Is it as fast as the Fire TV itself?
No, it's not. It's not.
It's not. But people are saying that it is fairly close.
Yeah, they said it's fairly close, and you won't really notice a major difference unless you're playing a graphics heavy game, but I haven't.
Yeah.
So I'm not one of those people, right? Like I'm not going to sit there, or maybe I am. I haven't discovered it yet. I haven't found a game that I want to play. I'm definitely
not one of those people, and that's one of the things that these articles are saying. That is, if you're not into games, well then don't even bother with the Amazon Fire TV. Just get the streaming stick; it'll be cheaper, and you're not going to be bothered by that anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. So I also ordered the stick, the Amazon stick, but that's not going to be here till like the 23rd. So I think I'm just going to give it to someone. I think I'll probably give it to my brother. I'm going to play around with it, and I could do like a comparison, and I'll give it to him. But they're all missing something, and it still bothers me that I could get the ABC app on Apple TV, but I can't get it on the Fire TV. Like, it's still, like, I just don't get it. The other problem that I have...
There's no one platform to rule them all.
Yeah, the other issue...
And I don't think there ever will be.
The other issue I have with Amazon, and this is, like, my personal issue, but I feel that it's almost misleading how their Prime service works. Because they'll have, like, a couple things on there, and you start watching it, and all of a sudden, you got to start paying. Like, I wanted to watch South Park. And it shows it like under Prime. So normally somebody would be like, oh, I have that. And then it says $1.99 per episode. And it's all the stuff that you want to watch. It's $1.99 an episode.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts. So I don't know. I'm hoping that there's going to be a definitive answer. Now, something that you might like, John, is that the History Channel is on the Amazon app, on the Amazon device. And they have a lot of stuff on there. All these original series from the History Channel and History 2, they have on there.
I love History Channel and History 2.
So I was watching Brad Meltzer's Decoding, like that show. I was watching that. And I watched like 4 or 5 episodes last night. And this stuff is not available on cable. You can't access that on demand on cable. So, there's a pro and a con for everything.
Yeah. But it's very interesting. There's actually an article here in our notes that's talking about it's basically ranking the Chromecast, Apple TV, and Roku.
Yeah.
Roku 3 is still the top.
Okay. Do you have the old stats? Start with the old stats.
The old stats?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about with the old stats.
So that article, or the original article, I don't know if you have that. Starts off in 20. I think it starts off in 2012 or 2011.
Yeah, I didn't copy all the notes. I just copied the latest stats.
So it was fascinating, before you go into the new one, it's fascinating to see Apple TV obviously was king, Roku was king, and then you had like Netgear, and you had Western Digital. And I'm thinking, how did that happen? Like, they just disappeared.
Well, the thing with the Western Digital stuff is that they just never really followed through with updating it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still somewhat of a decent product, but it's such a niche product now where you still have Roku 3 and Apple TV and these other devices that are $100 or less.
Yeah.
Which I think is a key selling point is that $99 or less. That's what people want. They say, okay, well, that's fine. That's not too expensive that if I don't like it, I'm not out a whole lot of money.
Yeah. So go down the list. Go down that article.
So Roku 3 is still the king at, I believe, I just got to find my notes real quick again, 29% of sales. Followed second by, get this, the Google Chromecast, which grabbed 20%. And then you also have the Apple TV with 17%, which is third. And the Amazon Fire TV Stick is in fourth at 10%.
And Google TV is not even on that.
No.
Yeah.
And that's sad because that was actually a promising product that Google had.
I mean, the concept was really
never
good.
Carried through with.
Yeah, and it's scary. I mean, I'm surprised that the Chromecast has such a market share, considering what do you do with a Chromecast, and how are people using a Chromecast?
I think people are using it. My brother has the one that I bought and gave to him, and he actually does use it for streaming stuff from his laptop to his TV. Like, if there's something on his laptop or on the internet that he wants to watch on TV, that's what he does. He's not using cable anymore. He's kind of a cord cutter now.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the big things that people are going for, is that the Chromecast will be able to stream anything on your computer, basically, to your TV. and at a very cheap price.
Yeah,
it's the cheapest option out there.
So he is essentially all he's doing is he's streaming his browser. Yeah, and then he's full screening the video that he's watching.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. I think for most people that's good. And I'm trying to figure out, how do you become a cord cutter, right? Like, what's the best way to do it? And this is a big thing right around the holiday season because a lot of people are discovering these devices for the first time. So I kind of want to touch on this a little bit longer than we normally would. But when you are deciding to become a cord cutter, and this is the problem that you personally have, John, it's going to cost you as much as cable, technically, to get everything you want, right? It's still going to cost you hundreds of dollars.
I've looked into this, and there's actually an article on streamingmedia.com recently that was talking about the a la carte options. And that's basically what cord cutting is. It's wanting these a la carte options because you don't want to have to pay for everything out there. There's so many channels that you get on cable that you don't really care about. Why don't you just pay for the channels that you want? But even if you do that, it still adds up to about the same amount as you're paying now for cable TV. So you're not really going to necessarily save money in the long run by being a cord cutter, in my opinion.
Yeah. And Seattle Mike has an interesting point. He goes, so the Chromecast is $23 plus $1,000 for a PC.
I don't think that's a fair stat, though.
But, I mean, technically, you still need another companion, so you need a tablet. So
you do, yes. But most people do have some sort of device that they can use with the Chromecast, whether it be a tablet, their phone, or a laptop, or a PC. Most people already have one of those devices.
Sorry, I had an issue here.
Oh, no.
I had a problem. I'm back. So let's, you know what the best way to do this is? And it's not necessarily the right way of doing it. Let's say I have cable, John, right? I have cable TV. I have Fios. You could technically activate, when you go to let's say you get like an Apple TV and then you want to watch the NBC stuff or you want to watch the ABC stuff. And it'll say like, hey, you need cable in order to use the service. Activate the code.
Yeah.
So if you know someone with cable, you could technically activate the code.
Yeah.
And there's your content. So you could have access. I mean, that's really how you kind of benefit if you cut the cord and you know someone with cable and you kind of use their service to do it.
That's kind of a workaround, though.
That is a workaround, but that's really the way that it pays off right now. There's not enough network content out there for someone to say, for inexpensive cost, for you to say, well, I'm going to get everything I want, and I'm cutting the cord and I'm going to be happy. I think people like you, they're going to be unhappy if they cut the cord right now. So that's my point.
Yeah, my whole thing with cord cutting is just the cost involved. If you really do want to save money, there are ways to save money by cord cutting. But for somebody like myself that is a huge TV junkie and watches a lot of stuff, it just doesn't add up. If you talk about having to have all these different subscriptions, all right, so you're going to have Netflix, you're going to have Amazon, you're going to have HBO Go, you're going to have WWE Network. You're talking $9 per month for each of these services.
Hulu. Yeah. You got the Hulu.
So you have 5 services. That's what? You're talking at least $50-$60 already. And then if you actually buy TV shows off of iTunes or Amazon, you're talking $3 per episode for an HD show. It just freaking adds up, and I just really do not like it.
No. So let's see what happens. I mean, I'm curious. I'm hoping with more of these, major brands like Amazon and Google, and this space is getting pretty competitive amongst the top companies. I'm hoping that these media companies realize, oh, listen, we got to put our content out there. This is crazy, and we got to give them more because this is how people are accessing it, and we can make a couple bucks. I know plenty of people that have cable that are probably going to be willing to pay a little bit more to get their content online, and they can watch everything that they wanted on demand rather than having to piggyback off the cable services on the service.
Comcast and Google are actually somewhat going towards that direction. Comcast has the X1 and X2 platform, which kind of does that to a degree. I think the X2 actually brings everything on your DVR to be able to access online as well, or on your phone, which is something that I'd be very much interested in as well. But also Google Fiber, Unfortunately, it's not in very many places at this point. But what Google Fiber is doing is extremely interesting, where they're offering you both gigabit internet for a very reasonable price plus TV service. And with that TV service, you're basically, with their new generation of the products that they're selling you now with Google Fiber, you're basically getting one box that's going to interface with your internet and your TV service. And it's one box that has all that stuff. But then you're going to have these smaller set-top boxes that you can plug into each device that you want to watch on, such as your TV. And each of those TV set-top boxes will also act as a Wi-Fi repeater, and it's all wireless, which is really ingenious in that you can have this amazing Wi-Fi access throughout your entire house in order to gain the best performance out of Google Fiber.
Well, you gotta need innovative company. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. You need innovation in order for people to get what they want. You know, Apple changed how smartphones are and how smartphones are perceived in 2007. 2009
I really
2007,
like
2007.
what Google is doing with Google Fiber. I think, and I'm sad that they're rolling it out so slowly, but I really do like what they're doing with their services for internet and TV service. I think it beats the pants off pretty much anybody that's doing anything out there.
Yeah.
Honestly, what I want is just to be able to watch live TV, whether it be on my TV, my phone, or my computer. And that's not really possible right now. I mean, technologically, I can't even say the word. Yeah, I mean, the technology is there to do that, but nobody's actually doing that.
Mm-mm.
I mean, you have it to a degree. Like Xfinity has some channels that you can watch online, but the quality is absolutely subpar to what you see on a TV. You can get it to a degree on your phone, but it's still not a very great experience, and it's so very limited number of channels. I want to be able to watch anything that I get on my TV through a cable box, on my phone or my computer, and also record it. Why can't I do that?
Because they don't want you to.
I have no problem paying $150 per month for cable TV service if that's what I get.
Yeah.
If I can record, if I can watch any show on my phone, my TV, or my computer live and record it and play it back whenever I want, wherever I'm at, I'll pay it.
Yeah, but you know what, John? It really comes down to, are enough people asking for this for them to care? Do they?
I think there's a market out there for that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the fact that cord killing and cord cutting is actually something that's becoming mainstream now.
Yeah,
it really is. So I think there is a market out there for stuff like that. You look at the fact that there's sling boxes out there. People use a sling box.
Yeah, but are they
using
using?
The fact that people were interested
it?
in using Aereo.
But are people using a sling box? You know, like that's the whole thing. I don't think people are actually using these things. You know, TiVo has a phenomenal DVR. Do you know about their DVR service?
No.
They're pretty much giving away this really good DVR box, and it's like $14 a month. It's the same as your cable company, but nobody's using this thing anymore. Nobody cares about this. I think it's called the TiVo Romeo.
Oh, yeah. The TiVo Romeo. Yeah, that thing is cool.
Yeah, $15
It's just
a month.
little bit expensive on the startup cost.
No. They're giving away the box for free now.
Not that I've seen. If you're actually looking at the stuff that they offer on their website, the pro versions.
Well, when I looked, I guess maybe it was a Black Friday deal, because they were giving away the Romeo for free on Black Friday, and it's $14.99 a month. And and you know you're going to get a decent interface with this thing. It's going to be better than what the cable company is doing, but nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it. Why? Because it's a separate box, and in your mind, it's going to...
Choose your TiVo Romeo DVR. The base model that they have is $199.99. Then you have the Romeo Plus at $399.99, and the Romeo Pro at $599.99, which does basically everything.
Seattle Mike says
you still had to have. I think what you were seeing was the cost for the guide and everything, because you have to have a monthly service commitment, which is $14.99.
Yeah,
so you're going to spend at least $200 for the DVR, and then you're going to spend $15 per month for the continued guide service.
Yeah, Seattle Mike says it's 0 down monthly payments. So that's what I saw. So was that 0 down for the hardware?
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I think those Romeos are actually extremely interesting devices. I just don't have $500 to spend on getting one.
Yeah.
If I had the money for it, I would totally go with the Romeo Plus or Romeo Pro.
Yeah.
And gladly spend $15 per month if it did everything that I wanted it to. But part of it is just the cost.
Yeah, so it was a Black Friday deal. I was right. Seattle Mike in our chat room kind of validated it. I saw it last Friday too, and I was like, wow, this is actually really good. But I guess that is true. It's a startup. Anyway, John, why don't we move on? Why don't you pick a story? You know what? We should go into that AT&T story.
Yeah, this is kind of interesting. There's a town in Kansas called, let me find where I just lost my place again because you went into it so fast. Where is it? I know it's in Kansas.
The Wichita Eagle reports. So was it Wichita? They are the ones. Chanute, Kansas?
Yeah, that's it. Chanute.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's very interesting because Chanute, Kansas built their own municipal utility fiber internet service, basically, that they use for their governmental services and utilities throughout their city. And they actually want to expand that so that residents and businesses can actually use their network, their gigabit internet as well. Right now, what they have for residents is just AT&T DSL, which only offers up to, get this, 6 megabits per second.
And how much at that cost? It's probably going to be $100.
I believe it's $45 or $50.
At 6 megs?
Yes.
Okay, that's not bad.
And this is very interesting. So the city has gone to the state because they have to ask permission in order to offer these bonds so that they can build out the rest of the network to reach their residents. And AT&T has seen this and weighed in and said that they want to know why a town is building a 1 gigabit internet network when it already offers 6 megabits per second DSL to its residents.
So they're pretty much saying, well, why do we have to give you more? Because we're giving you 6. That should be good enough, guys.
No,
What's your problem?
why are you building a gigabit internet network when we already offer 6 megabits per second to you guys?
Yeah. What? It's not good enough for you?
Why do you need a gigabit internet network?
Yeah,
you don't need that. We already offer you 6 megabits per second.
But how can they say that the 6 megabits per second is suitable in 2014, 2015?
Because they're AT&T.
I mean, isn't that nuts? Clue. Isn't that nuts that they think that that's enough? It's 6 megabits, but how about upload?
It's probably 2 megabits, if that.
Oh God, that's crazy.
Oh, this whole story is interesting. The fact that AT&T is actually upset by this. Fortunately for the city, it doesn't look like AT&T is going to win anything in this case, because the state has already recommended that these bonds be approved so that they can expand their network.
And what was the response? What was the end result of that?
We haven't had a response yet from the city to AT&T.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that the state says that they recommend approving the bond so that they can expand and build out the network. But I just think it's just, you have a town where you're serving, and the municipal has an idea of expanding. They're already somewhat built gigabit internet network for its residents. And they're complaining because you already offer them 6 megabits per second.
I
guess you have a problem with that? Why don't you compete?
I mean, are they offering their UVerse service there or just DSL?
Just DSL.
So it's not even like they're losing business outside of their high speed. It's just they don't offer it, but they don't understand why the municipality is going to allow this to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
They're concerned that it's going to take away business from them.
Yeah. That's a little nutty.
Well, then maybe you should offer and compete better.
Yeah. That's the weird disconnect.
And you know what? This is my problem with AT&T, especially in my area as well. From my area, and people don't necessarily realize this, but AT&T does not offer great speeds in most places. In my area, the best I can do, I think, is 24 megabits per second down.
What is it with AT&T?
24 megabits per second down. That is the fastest I can get from AT&T in my area.
Which
so I can either go with AT&T at 24 megabits per second down, or I can go with Comcast, which I can get all the way up to like 300 megabits per second down.
I mean, at least that's better than...
Why AT&T refuses to compete, it's just mind-boggling. We're at this age where we need lots of speed at this point. There's no way I would be able to do what I do with 24 megabits per second, let alone 6. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
and AT&T is up in arms with this.
But what happens when... because a municipality is going to decide at the end who goes in there. So... like for here, we couldn't get another service because the municipalities in New York City were not allowing another competitor to come in because Time Warner Cable was lobbying and saying, well, no, we don't want to let them in. We don't want to put them in.
Yeah, I think that, you know what? That's an entirely different deal than the fact that, if you can at least offer decent speeds,
yeah,
that's one thing. But if you can't even offer comparable speeds, why even bother blocking it?
Yeah, that's the thing. If you can't compete, well, I guess you can't compete.
The fact that they think that 6 megabits per second or even 24 megabits per second down is perfectly reasonable.
I mean, isn't that their way of competing, right? Like, if you can't compete, then you say, well, no, they don't need this. That's their way of competing rather than offering a service that's decent.
Yeah. Basically, the people in Chanute, Kansas would pay about $40 per month for its gigabyte internet service, which is only about $5 more than the 6 megabits per second service that AT&T would offer. So for $5 more, you're going to go from 6 megabits per second to a whole gigabit.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
That's a no-brainer right there.
Why don't you go into another story, John?
What's that?
Let's go to another story. Let's fill something in, because I'm going to get so nutty over this thing. Because, like, how do you argue this point?
Yeah. So Microsoft is planning a Windows 10 event for January. And they're going to be showing off new features of Windows 10. We've heard some stuff about this as well before. And this is also going to be taking place sometime around CES, but I guess they want to have their own standalone event for announcing new features of Windows 10. And we're supposedly going to hear more about their plans for phones, tablets, and detailing possibly a new Xbox One dashboard update.
I'm excited for this. I'm really excited for Windows 10. I really hope that this is everything that we've been wanting it to be. I have yet to run the beta because I don't want to run it till... I actually don't have a machine that I'm not using to put it on. I don't want to put it on any number of my production machines. Paul's been using it. He's been having some issues with it, obviously, because it's a beta. But I'm hoping in January when they release this consumer version, they've kind of ironed out everything. I know you're excited to use it too.
Yeah, I actually found out a very interesting tip yesterday, is that Microsoft actually provides Windows 10 virtual machines. You can actually download a Windows 10 virtual machine from Microsoft for free.
Right now?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
And it'll work with VirtualBox or VMware. There's a website that they have. It's actually based off of trying out Internet Explorer 11, I believe. And they have a modern IE site where you can actually download virtual machines. It's modern.ie. And through there, you can actually download virtual machines to try out Internet Explorer 11. So, like, you can get IE 11 on Windows 8.1, 10, 7, 8, and even XP if you really want.
Oh, very cool.
Which is very interesting. And I was tempted to actually download that yesterday, but I'm like, yeah, you know what? I kind of want to wait just a little bit longer for the consumer stuff, just in case there's any changes, you know?
Yeah. I'm hoping that this is everything we want, because a lot of people are on Windows 7, and that's an old operating system at this point. I'm 5 years old. It's getting up there.
Yeah.
It's time to move on.
Yeah.
You know how many people are gripping onto XP for dear life?
Too many.
No idea why. Way too many. Way too many. All right, John. Why don't you go into another one?
Let's see. Well, this is kind of interesting. There's been a lot of news this week about Sony being hacked by a group claiming to be Guardians of Peace.
Yeah.
And this is supposedly a hack done by North Korea because they're upset supposedly over this movie that Sony is releasing called The Interview, which kind of mocks North Korea, I guess. I'm not really familiar with the movie.
Yeah, I saw that they were upset a couple months ago over it. I'm not familiar with the movie either. And now they're saying that the North Koreans are behind this attack to get revenge on Sony.
And there's been a lot of stuff leaked, I guess, from this hack. I don't know. It hasn't been confirmed whether it's Guardians of Peace that have released these latest hacks. But there's been a lot of social security numbers and passwords leaked today. And then earlier this week, also a bunch of films, including unreleased films such as Annie, Fury, Mr. Turner, and Still Alice have been leaked. And these are like high quality screeners.
So what are the odds that it's the North Koreans that are hacking Sony and releasing these movies?
Well, nobody knows for sure because it is Guardians of Peace that claim to have hacked Sony, but they haven't taken responsibility for these leaks of the films or the passwords and social security information. But it seems like Sony is pointing fingers at North Korea, and people are also wondering if North Korea hasn't outsourced the hacking to Chinese hackers of Sony.
Yeah. I don't know. It sounds a little...
It's certainly possible.
It is possible.
There's a lot going on these days in terms of cyber warfare.
Oh my God, cyber
espionage. It is
espionage.
something that I believe is going to be more important than actually fighting somebody in person.
Oh yeah, cyber espionage and cyber warfare is going to be... I mean, that's really how wars are going to be fought from now on. Nobody's dropping bombs. It's more devastating to a country if you...
think that, and this actually came out. Somebody, I forget who said it was. Somebody from the government actually did say that we are at risk. Our electrical grid is at risk from hackers.
Yeah, Seattle Mike says, isn't it just cooler to point to North Korea rather than Bobby from New Jersey? Yeah, I mean, it is. It could be Bobby from New Jersey for all we know, but they were mercenary hackers, apparently. So yeah. It was a Chinese,
but it kind of
really.
makes sense that, they would be upset over this film, and then all of a sudden they get hacked. So, yeah. It's almost kind of like putting two and two together.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great story, great headline. What is Sony going to do?
Unfortunately, I'm not really interested in any of these movies that leaks.
Yeah.
So.
You know what? I thought the same thing. I looked. I'm like, I'm not really.
Yeah,
I don't.
Annie,
who cares?
Okay, not interested. Fury, yeah, not really interested. I would never go see it in theater anyway. Mr. Turner, no. Still Alice. Again, none of these movies I would want to actually go to the theater to see anyway, so let alone download a leaked copy of it, which is illegal, by the way. Don't do that.
Yeah.
We would never promote downloading illegal films.
You're absolutely right. Is there another story, or should we wrap it up?
There's a couple of interesting ones here as well. Apple basically admitted that they did delete users' non-iTunes music and did not inform them about this.
Yeah.
There's a lawsuit that has been moving forward, and believe it or not, from 2005 regarding the iPod Classic. And in some of the documents that were released after this lawsuit had moved forward, we learned that Apple did indeed delete non-iTunes music without informing people about it. Basically, if you downloaded something from, say, the Amazon store and put it into iTunes and tried to sync it with your iPod, you might get an error message saying that you need to restore your device to the factory settings. Then once you did that, it would actually delete that Amazon MP3 that you put on your iPod Classic without ever telling you.
Yeah.
So this kind of calls into question whether or not Apple really does know what's best for us.
I guess so, right? Apple knows more. I guess when did they stop doing this?
This happened between 2007 and 2009. So for a 2-year period, they did this. Which is crazy to think that they would actually do this. They're just kind of bizarre in the fact that they think they know better in some regards.
Well, they're going to say, well, where'd you get that music?
I kind of see the point that they would think that it could be harmful, possibly harmful, but the fact that they would give you some ambiguous error message saying that you needed to restore to factory settings and then not tell you that it deleted this music. I mean, why not just actually say that we can't sync this music because we think it might be potentially harmful to your iPod?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Well, I guess it's to kind of screw you, right? Because you're not in their ecosystem.
Yeah.
You got it someplace else. Go to hell. Use our stuff.
Curtis B in the chat room is asking if the Amazon, etc. music was DRM'd at that time. And I'm not particularly sure. But I know that they did talk about Fairplay DRM. I don't think it did have DRM at that time.
At that time, no, I don't think it did. It's now, I guess it's a lot easier, you know, like nobody's really worried about this stuff. That stuff has changed.
Yeah, I think Apple kind of did some pretty bad things back in the day, but I think they might have wised up a little bit since then. Now that they don't have DRM in any of their music. Yeah. Which is a very good thing. You can sync anything you want.
Yeah, I really like the iTunes Match service because it really, number one, everything is on the cloud. Number two, it takes all your stuff that you may have gotten from Napster, for example. If you have the proper tags, it'll convert it to, a really high quality MP3 or AAC.
Yeah. So I just think it's ridiculous that they would go about doing this without ever telling somebody. And I think that's what calls into question whether or not Apple can be trusted.
No, I don't think any of them should be trusted. I think, we've got to use discretion and not give everybody everything we have.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes and ears open. All right, guys, let's wrap it up for today. What do you say, John?
Sure.
Little quick show before the holiday season kicks off. I'm not here next week, guys, by the way. I'm in Los Angeles next week, and I'm going to be flying back home around the time that we got to do a show. So next week we're off. And we'll have our end of the year show, obviously, and then we're going to come back in January with a big bang. Huge bang, John. Mm-hmm. That's what we're coming back with. You want to do the show plugs?
I don't have them memorized. You're better at it.
My God, you're so much better than I am. Go to our website, gfknetwork.com. If you miss any portion of the show, of course, you can catch it archived there. Follow us. We're on Twitter, at GFK Network. I'm on Twitter, too, at Andrew Zarian. Of course, Suncast on Twitter as well. If you want to help us out, you want to fund us, use our Patreon page. Patreon.com/whatthetech. You can tip us anything you want. A nickel, $1, 20 cents, 10 cents, whatever you want. And it helps us out, and it continues, the network going with limited ads. Also, holiday season is here. Whatever you're buying, guys, use our Amazon link. gfq.co/Amazon. Bookmark it. Buy your stuff there. We also have a Canadian version. We have a UK version. It's all on our website. If you go to our website, you can catch it there. And that's it. We'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.